3.
When we last talked about it, we had gotten into the late 60s, early 70s, and we were up to 6 school buildings. We had taken on both the Sands and the Scandia school districts, and the Scandia had an elementary school which joined the flow. There was also plans at one point to build a 3rd elementary school on base, but for whatever reason that fell through. And what they did with expansion at that point is they used what they called the relocatables. They were trailers that were placed independently outside of the buildings of the elementary schools. And I think you could probably look back on either the kids that attended them, the teachers that taught them, or the principals that had to deal with them, and nobody liked them. But anyway, that's what they were using. At some point when you get into the late 80s or into the 90s, I'm not sure the exact date here, but the Defense Department started to close down many of their bases. And it came to be that the BRAC commission, I think it was the Base Realignment and Closure Committee, decided that they were going to close Caddy Sawyer. And so in 1995, it closed. Thereabouts in that time frame, the Scandia and McDonald schools were closed, and those properties were sold. Going on further then into that early 90s, there was a great deal of confusion and hope that they would find some way of reutilizing the properties on the base. And so I think that the schools certainly were caught up in that indecision, that not knowing about what was going to happen. And so that may have had an effect on whether or not they did anything immediately to close schools, but it became apparent to them that they had to close more school buildings. So they closed the middle school and sold that property. The other thing to consider on this thing too is that when the student population left from the base, their impact aid also went with them. So now we were operating all these buildings with just what we could bring in locally. Also in that time frame, the Gilbert School was closed for a time and has since reopened. But today we're dealing with, again, the school district is looking at, again, contracting, as we have done in the past, as what happened when they built the original high school back in the early 1900s, and the other small buildings closed down. We are looking at a situation now, again, where the school district is looking at the feasibility of contracting to one campus. This is not new. This has been, even in this instance, it's not new. They've been discussing this for, 10, 15 years, maybe more. But it is, I guess, a situation where most people seem to think it's a good idea to have one campus. But the question becomes, how do we spend the money for it, and is it the will of the people to do it? And so that's kind of where we find ourselves at this point. We, as a community, when we started, we developed a whole lot of small schools. We contracted to the one building when that became feasible. With the expansion of the base coming in, we expanded in a large way, and now with the base leaving, now we're contracting again. So I hope that gives you maybe some perspective on what has happened here with the building and education in Forsyth Township in the last about 150 years.